The Karoo Desert stretched for miles in every direction when my car sputtered to a stop. The engine coughed, shuddered, and died, leaving me stranded in the middle of nowhere. With no cell signal and nothing but the empty road behind me, I had no choice but to walk. The sun was dipping below the horizon when I spotted a flickering neon sign in the distance, Mountain Shade Motel. Relief washed over me. I stepped inside, the bell above the door jangling. The reception area smelled of stale air and something metallic, like rusted iron. The receptionist, a gaunt man with sallow skin, barely glanced up before sliding a key across the counter. Room 7, he muttered. Then, as I turned away, he added in a hushed voice, "Stay inside at night, and don't open the door." His tone made my skin prickle. Why? He only stared at me, his lips pressing into a thin line, before disappearing into the back office. I forced down my unease and made my way to room 7. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The air inside was thick with the scent of dust and something faintly rotten, like old water left sitting too long. I wrinkled my nose and set my bag down, exhaustion winning over discomfort. The bed was stiff, the blanket scratchy, but I didn't care. I needed rest. I had just begun to drift off when I heard it. A slow, scratchy shuffle, like nails against wood. My pulse spiked. The sound was coming from beneath the floorboards. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight, sweeping the room. Nothing, just a worn wooden floor and the peeling wallpaper. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. Just my imagination, I told myself. Travel exhaustion. I turned off the light. Scratch, drag, scratch. Closer this time. My breath itched. The noise was moving toward the bed. I pulled the blanket up instinctively, gripping the edge like a child warding off monsters. Then, something cold brushed against my foot. I bolted upright, heart hammering. My hands fumbled for the bedside lamp, but the old switch took a second too long. In that instant of darkness, I swear I felt it, a presence heavy and watching. The light flickered on, flooding the room with weak yellow light. Nothing, but the feeling lingered, like something had just slithered away. I forced myself to breathe, listening to the silence that now filled the room. Maybe a rat? I tried to rationalize it, but deep down, I knew better. The sound was deliberate, crawling with purpose. Morning couldn't come fast enough. The first rays of sunlight seeped through the tattered curtains. I threw off the blanket, desperate to leave, but the moment I swung my legs over the bed, I froze. Deep, bloody scratch marks trailed from under the door to my bed. A jagged path, as if something had crawled in. My stomach lurched. My breath turned shallow. I didn't dream it. I stumbled out of the room, slamming the door behind me. My feet barely touched the ground as I sprinted to the front desk. The receptionist was there, his hollow eyes snapping to mine the moment I reached the counter. What the hell happened in that room? My voice shook. What was in there? His face paled. You stayed in room 7. He exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. That room. A woman stayed there years ago. She vanished without a trace. No body, no signs of struggle. Just, he gestured vaguely, his fingers twitching. Those same marks. My skin went cold. Then why rent it out? Why not close it? His lips pressed together. The owner tried, boarded it up, but something keeps opening it. A shudder rolled through me. I heard it calling. I felt it. His hands curled into fists. You didn't open the door, did you? I shook my head. No, he sagged with relief. Good. Whatever it is, it's still looking for a way out. If you hear it again, no matter how much it scratches, no matter what it whispers, do not open the door. I turned to leave, but then something caught my eye. A framed black and white photograph on the wall behind the desk. A group of people standing in front of the motel, smiling. And among them, my stomach dropped. The missing woman. Her face was blurred, distorted, as if something had scratched at the image itself, like it had been trying to erase her, or take her back.
I should have known something was wrong the moment I checked into Eden Lodge in a small town on the outskirts of Lagos. The receptionist, an old woman with sunken eyes, hesitated before handing me the key to room 105. "You can take another room," she whispered. Her fingers trembled as she slid the key across the counter. But I was exhausted from the long drive, and her warning barely registered. I just wanted a bed. The first thing I noticed upon entering the room was the smell, damp, old, like something rotting under the floorboards. The second thing was the mirror, an antique with a thick wooden frame, its glass slightly warped with age. It loomed over the room like an uninvited guest. As I unpacked, I had the unsettling sensation that the mirror was watching me. I caught my reflection in the corner of my eye. Was it a second too slow? I turned quickly, but there was nothing unusual. Just my mind playing tricks on me. The unease grew stronger as the hours passed. The air inside the room felt heavier, oppressive. I tried to distract myself with my phone, but the screen flickered and died, despite having full battery. The light bulb above me buzzed softly, dimming slightly every few minutes. Shadows stretched oddly along the walls, as if cast by an unseen light source. That night, I awoke to the sound of slow, deliberate breathing. It wasn't mine. My skin went cold. I turned to the mirror, my pulse hammering. My reflection was standing up, while I was still lying in bed. My own image turned its head toward me and smiled, a wide, unnatural grin that stretched beyond the limits of my face. I gasped and threw myself back against the headboard. The grin widened, my reflection stepping closer to the surface of the glass. I could see the whites of its eyes, too white, too bright in the dim light of the room. Then it tilted its head, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. I scrambled for the light, my fingers fumbling at the switch. The moment the bulb flickered on, the mirror was normal again. My reflection was where it should be, mirroring my horrified expression. Heart racing, I grabbed a bedsheet and threw it over the glass. The air grew colder. A weight settled on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I squeezed my eyes shut and chanted under my breath, praying for morning. The whispers began just before dawn, low, indistinct murmurs slithering from beneath the covered mirror. My name, repeated over and over, in a voice that sounded like mine but was slightly off. At first light, I gathered my belongings and rushed to the front desk. The old woman didn't look surprised. She sighed as she took the key from my shaking hands. "No one ever stays in that room for more than one night," she murmured. I turned to leave, but something made me glance at the glass door. My breath caught in my throat. My reflection wasn't following my movements. It was standing still, staring, smiling. As I stumbled out of the motel, my phone buzzed to life. A single notification lit up the screen. A photo, taken just minutes ago. A picture of my covered mirror. The bedsheet had been pulled away. I should have never taken that job. The motel sat at the edge of a forgotten highway, deep in the heart of an unnamed African town. It wasn't just old, it was rotting. The air smelled of damp wood and something metallic, something wrong. I was desperate for money, and the owner, a man with eyes too sharp to be friendly, hired me on the spot. My only job? Watch the front desk. No cleaning, no maintenance, just watch. The first night was uneventful. A few truckers checked in, some travelers passing through. But on the second night, something changed. A man walked in, tall, gaunt, dressed in an expensive suit. He handed me cash, far too much for a single room, and said one thing. "Room 17. I reached for the key, but before I could hand it to him, the owner appeared from nowhere, his face pale. "Not that room," he muttered. "Take 14 instead." The man didn't argue. He just smiled, and it sent ice through my spine. That night, I heard the first scream. Muffled, like someone was choking on their own terror. It came from down the hall. From room 17. I grabbed my keychain, heart pounding, and crept toward the door. The air got thick, like I was wading through something unseen. My fingers trembled as I knocked. No answer. I pressed my ear against the wood. A wet, gurgling sound. Then a whisper. "Help me." I yanked the door open. The room was empty. The bed untouched. The air smelled of copper, of sweat and something rotting. But there was no one inside. No one. I turned to leave, then I saw it. The closet door was slightly open. A sliver of darkness, impossibly deep. I don't know why I moved closer, why I peered in. Inside, a pair of wide, terrified eyes stared back at me from the shadows. A girl, no older than 14, bound and gagged, her face slick with tears. Then something moved behind her. Not a person, not a man. Something wrong. It had too many limbs. Its face was featureless, just stretched skin where mouth should be. And it was watching me. The girl's muffled scream snapped me out of my trance. I stumbled backward, heart slamming against my ribs. The owner's voice boomed from behind me. "You should have stayed at the desk." Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a moving car, the wind rushing past me. The girl was gone. The motel was gone. Only the owner remained, his hands gripping the wheel, his face stone cold. "You ask too many questions," he said, his voice as empty as the night. I jumped out of that car the second I could. Rolled into the dirt, scraped my arms bloody, but I ran. And I never looked back. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear the whisper, "Help me." And I wonder, how many never made it out of room 17?